All right, guys, it is that time of year. You know it. It is just pandemonium here. You've got, don't forget, NBA hoops just around the corner, college basketball just around the corner, and, oh, yeah, we're still dealing with the NFL and college football. I thought it would be a great time for us to visit with our good friend, DrBob Stahl, DrBob Sports. If you guys have not been there, make sure that you guys get there. And I know he's a little under the weather here, so we appreciate his time. And, DrBob, so far, your thoughts. Let me get your thoughts with college football starting. First of all, as we get ready for Week 8 here, a couple of games tonight on Thursday night, some really good games Friday night as well. What are some of your thoughts so far with college football? Is it the same old, same old? Are we seeing the same old Power 5, just dominating? It's just going to be Alabama, Clemson, Oklahoma, and then everyone else is just, hoping to get a New Year's bowl? Because it certainly seems that way.
Yeah, it's still top-heavy. I forgot to mention Ohio State, which I think is probably the most well-rounded team. Actually, their defense is better than any defense in the country, and they have a very capable offense. Hard to say. I mean, Justin Fields did do pretty well in the game against Michigan State against the one good defense he faced, and that was sort of the one I was waiting for because I was not a true believer in him, but the system's really good there, and they can plug in a lot of quarterbacks who've done really well at Ohio State and haven't done anything in the pros. So this is more system-oriented and talent around the quarterback that makes the difference. Obviously, Fields was terrible at Georgia and never got the chance. Really, not terrible. I guess he never got the chance because they just had better guys in front of him. But certainly he's run the offense well at Ohio State, and the defense is off the charts good right now. So I think Ohio State's the most well-rounded team. And then I'd say, Alabama, they're right there with Alabama. Clemson, I think, is down a notch. I think Oklahoma's great. Their offense is better than it's ever been. I mentioned before the season started, I did some analysis, and it wasn't your show, but another show, and I talked about how Jalen Hurts, actually is the most accomplished of the transfer quarterbacks that Oklahoma's had. And Baker Mayfield lost his starting job at Texas Tech, was pretty good there, and then lost his job to Mahomes and transferred. And then, of course, Kyler Murray was horrible at Texas A&M, and he became a Heisman Trophy winner in that system. So that system is really good, and they had the most accomplished quarterback they've ever had coming into that. So I expected them to be as good or better than they've been the last 3 years, and so far they've been better, which is incredible. And the defense is better. So Oklahoma's more capable of winning a national championship, too. So I think we've just added some teams. And LSU, now they've moved into the 21st century with their offense, suddenly they're a national contender. I just think there's more teams. I think maybe you're talking 6 or 7 teams that are really, really good this year as opposed to 2 or 3.
Yeah, how shocked are you that Michigan is still can't figure it out with Harbaugh there?
Yeah, it's funny. The 1 year he decides to give up control of the offense, and people are like, well, maybe it is me. It's not him at all. I mean, they just don't have any playmakers on that team. They just don't have the speed. I don't know. I can't explain it. I mean, how come they can't get a tight end? I mean, they all go to Stanford. Well, he invented that. He started that trend at Stanford. You figure he can get a tight end or two to go there instead they go to Iowa. So he has not been able to run the system he likes to run. He hasn't had the tight ends to do it. He hasn't really had good running backs there. He had one a couple years ago, but they haven't been able to run the ball consistently. So I think they'd probably be better off if they went back to Harbaugh running the offense because whatever they're doing now is not working. They have the quarterback. I mean, they have the talent. It's just and some decent talent at receiver. It just hasn't gotten done. And the defense isn't as good this year. So tough for Harbaugh, but I like him as a coach. So
exactly. I hope the guy does well. Hope he does well against Penn State this weekend. It's funny. We got a couple of the more weekday games we're starting to get through here. Of course, we got a couple here tonight, Thursday night, a couple tomorrow night, really good. Is there a different way to approach these weekday games? Do you approach these, cap them a little bit differently? Maybe especially if they have less time to prepare. We're going to have a whole lot of MAC games during the week. Have you found over the years that there's trends one way or the other when a Wednesday or Thursday game, Friday game takes place?
Well, not as much on the side, but on the total, the Wednesday, Thursday games, and Tuesday, actually, if you want to throw them in, because those are coming up later in the year, those games tend to go under. In fact, there's 56.4% under on 674 games in my database.
Wow.
56.4% is pretty darn good. So I tend to shade my projection, my math model projection down, a point or two on the weekday games. But aside from that, there's not really a ton of trends on the side, whether teams rested or not rested 50%, not rested, about 50%.
Right, exactly.
Rested versus unrested is about 50%. That's just works into the line. I mean, there's no advantage. I mean, people think they have an edge. One thing that people do is like, oh, this team's got rest, or so they're gonna. Well, that's in the line.
Right.
You're not really. You don't know anything that the odds makers don't know.
Yeah.
So if you're betting a game because one team's rested, there are some trends that are interesting based on rest, but it just depends on the scenario. And, I have a database. I can look those things up. Like off back-to-back losses and playing on a Thursday night.
Right.
Usually those teams are rested. That tends to be good, actually. Maybe less time to think about the next game is good.
That's a good point.
But Thursday night teams off back-to-back losses are 57% over the years. I mean, there are little tidbits here and there, but there's nothing that I would base a bet on simply on a trend.
Dr. Bob.
Everything's about my math model.
Yeah, man, it's exactly. And you guys can catch it, guys. DrBobSports.com. If you guys haven't been there, make sure that you are checking it out. I know you've got a free analysis up there tonight's game. Speaking of Thursday night games, Louisiana Lafayette here taking on Arkansas State. And I'm still trying to figure out how the total was 70-plus last week in the App State Lafayette game. And we're getting to that point again. They didn't come close to it last week. Was that just an anomaly, or was there are you expecting this to be quite the shootout here tonight?
Well, my math model put it at 68.5, and that's exactly what the line is. But then I shade a point or point and a half lower because it's a Thursday game, like I just mentioned.
Right.
So I wouldn't touch the total here. I don't really think there's much to it. Lafayette's defense is much better this year, and I think that's what was surprising, last week. And Appalachian State is a very good offensive team, and, the Raging Cajuns really did a great job holding them to about 5 yards of play and 17 points. They lost the game because their offense, for whatever reason, suddenly stopped working. But the offense has generally been good all season. Lafayette has scored, they're still averaging 30.5 points per game against FBS teams this season, even with 7 points last week. So they should straighten it out. Arkansas State's got a bad defense, and they're giving up 39 points a game. And, the interesting thing here is Arkansas State, I could see this going two ways. I could see an outright upset, and I could also see Louisiana Lafayette winning by double digits, and all depends on Arkansas State's new quarterback. Lane Hatcher became the starter a couple weeks ago. He was originally at Alabama and then transferred to Arkansas State. He was the backup earlier in the year, got the chance to start when there was an injury in Week 5 against Troy. And since then, he's completed 68% of his passes for 11 yards a pass attempt.
Wow.
The problem is he's thrown 5 interceptions in those two games. Or 5 interceptions this year, 4 of them the last 2 weeks, and he threw one earlier in backup duty earlier in the season. So he's a high-risk, high-reward quarterback so far. Big arm and throws it down the field, which is great, but also you get picked off when you do that too often, and that could happen tonight. But I could see Arkansas State moving the ball. As long as he limits his interceptions, Hatcher throws 1 or fewer interceptions, I could see Arkansas State winning this game as long as he continues to be as accurate as he has been down the field. So that's the big question. How many interceptions will he throw? But, if you're looking for a money line underdog, you want high variance.
Right.
And so this is high variance. But my math model favors Louisiana Lafayette by 8 points. So there's no value really in the side. But just an interesting game. I want to see how Hatcher does against a better defense, because so far he's faced 2 really bad defenses.
Yeah, we watched one of them last night, Troy. Boy, that was I'll never get that time back. Dr. Bob Stahl joining us tomorrow night, Friday night, ACC matchup. I'm looking forward to this game. A little disappointed in the Orangemen here, Syracuse, Dino Babers and crew. I thought we'd get more out of the quarterback, Tommy DeVito, but that offensive line is it's hot garbage. It's unfortunate, but it's really affected everything else that they do there, and yet you got a Pitt team that likes to play defense and has had a pretty rough schedule thus far. When you look at this game over here, are you leaning one way or the other, Pitt taking on Syracuse in the Carrier Dome?
Well, you have, like you said, you have an offensive line for Syracuse. They throw the ball a lot. They have an offensive line that can't protect the quarterback. It's not even so much that DeVito indecisive. He came in last year and was a bad quarterback. He only completed 50% of his passes last year. He's more accurate this year, but he's checking down a lot, and that's a lot. And so it's less yards per pass, and that's a lot because the offensive line doesn't give him a lot of time. But he also tends to hold the ball a little bit too, and that's part of the sacks that they've taken. Now, Pitt is among the leaders in the nation in sacking the quarterback, so this does not necessarily look like a great matchup for them. But it could be both sides of the ball because Pitt gets sacked about 2.5 times a game, and Syracuse is also among the nation's leaders in sacks on defense with 6 games and 20 sacks so far in 6 games. So interesting. It's which quarterback can handle that, but overall, I think Pitt's quarterback more experienced. Obviously, Pickett's more experienced. He's been a starter for longer. I think he's a better quarterback in general. The defense of Pitt is much, much better overall. Stopping the run, stopping the pass. They're one of the best pass defenses in the country, not just the sacks, but the secondary is also very good. They held Penn State to 17 points. That says a lot. That's crazy. Last week, giving up 30 to Duke, actually really deceiving. They only allowed 3.2 yards per play. So that's more like giving up 10 points. That was a really deceiving game. Plus, against UCF, a great offense. Giving up 34 points to UCF is no crime. They only allowed 5.6 yards per play to UCF, which is better than average, and really better than average when you consider the opponent they face. So Pitt's defense is really good, and 3.5, if it goes down to 3, certainly get more interested. It might get there. If Pitt goes to 3, I'm playing it. At 3.5, I still like Pitt. Just not as much conviction.
Yeah, guys, and DrBob Sports, by the way, you get there, you get free analysis. They'll be out tomorrow on Friday. Check them out. A lot of the games will be up there, packages, a lot of great free information over there at DrBob Sports. Wanted to ask you quickly about the NFL. DrBob here. A lot of underdog winners, a lot of market either not adjusting as quickly as it has in the past because the books have been celebrating a lot over the last couple of weeks here and the public scratching their head. But why so many underdog winners, road underdog winners no less? Is there something we're missing here, or is it just the nature of the beast thus far?
I think it's just random. People look into this, and there's two ways to look at it. Some people go, boy, the dogs really are good, and I'm going to be playing dogs. And some people go, wow, the dogs have been really good. Vegas is going to adjust. I'm on the favorites. It's I don't pay attention to any of that in-season trends.
Right.
My model's my model. If the dog, obviously I'm having a really good season in the NFL again this year, and it hasn't been a problem to me. Whatever. I bet favorites in one. I bet dogs in one. Right. My model tends to favor dogs anyway, so that probably helped me that the dogs have been covering. But I bet a lot of favorites too. In fact, I had the Patriots last week, as a 16.5-point favorite. So I'm not against betting big favorites. I won with both this year, so I just think something like that. People, it's like in baseball when the guy says, he's 0 for 20. One guy says he's due, and one guy says he's cold.
Yeah, exactly.
What is it? It's neither. If he's a 250 hitter, he's due to hit 250. So favorites are due to be 50% or whatever it is, 49% from this point forward.
Yep.
That doesn't mean they're due to start covering to get to 49%. That just means from this point on they're due to be 49%. So maybe the Vegas will adjust a little bit because the public's been talking about it. So there might be some value in the favorite going forward, but it's not something that I really pay attention to. I look at the line, I look at my model. If there's a significant enough of a difference, I make the bet as long as the matchups are favorable or not unfavorable. So that's the way I look at it. I don't really look at the in-season trends that much.
Yeah, that's a great piece of advice. Don't get caught up in the here and now, guys. Do not do it. That's it'll lead you down the wrong path. Basketball's coming up here. You are without a doubt. Last year when we talked to you, it was an amazing season. Not only in college hoops, but of course the NBA. I don't know if you still have Mr. NBA there, but how do folks? Are you getting ready, gearing up for the hoop season here?
Yeah, actually, I start slowly in the NBA. I have an NBA-only handicapper called the NBA Guru. He had the most ridiculous season last year. I don't know if
it was stupid.
Sending you a 7. I think I was.
It was stupid.
Yeah, he won it's all 2 stars, and he was up 86 stars, so 43 units basically, consistently too. Just started the season. hot, middle season, good, end of season, good. I mean, it's just a consistently good season. He's been with me for 7 years. You know, anybody can win in the short run, just anybody can lose in the short run. He's been with me for 7 years, and he's 56+% in the NBA for 7 years, picking a lot of games. I mean, it's crazy. I've never seen anybody better in the NBA over the years. So he's on my side. I do my NBA stuff, but I tend to do more of that later in the season after I get some more data. And honestly, I'm focused on football right now. When college comes around, I jump into college basketball right away.
Right.
But the NBA, I've not done as well historically early in the season. So now I just decided I'm just not going to play that many games early in the season unless it's something very obvious to me. And that helped me out last year. You know, because the season before I started off something like 19-31. I had to rally to get above 50% for the year. And I'm like, you know what? So last year I decided I'm not going to play that much early in the season because it's been a pattern for more than just the year before. And, you know, the end of the year was good again. And I had a profitable season last year in the NBA, but not like the NBA guru had. He was just ridiculous. But college has always been solid for me, and that's something I spent a lot of time on.
Yep. Packages available, guys, if you head over to drsports.com. Not only the NFL, college football, but get ready. Hoops is right around the corner, and nobody better to have in your corner than Dr. Bob and company. And listen, I appreciate the time, man. It was good to be able to catch up to you. I hope you feel better. As always, good luck with the games this week and moving forward. Appreciate the time and look forward to talking to you again, my man.
All right. Thanks, Joe. Always fun.
You got it. Dr. Bob Sports. Get there today, guys.